Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Michael with another weekly update, and here, let's get started. All right, so last weekend, WrestleMania was here in Vegas for the second consecutive year, and there were a few things that kind of surprised me, but also I was kind of predicting a couple things as well. So one big surprise was Brock Lesnar seemed to have retired. However, some sources say that he's not retired. It may be his last WrestleMania, with SummerSlam being this summer. Guessing that will be his last match, but you never know with wrestling, right? So another surprise was Cody Rhodes reclaiming the undisputed WWE Championship. I thought for sure Randy Orton would continue with it, but obviously that didn't work out. And I believe Cody Rhodes was legitimately injured. His eye was definitely swollen, and hopefully there's nothing too serious injury-wise, but anyways, I'm sure he'll be back as soon as possible. And one other note about WrestleMania, reports show that the overall attendance was down compared to last year. So if that's true, is WWE going to come back out here anytime soon for WrestleMania, or just give it time to kind of lay low, and maybe next time they have lower ticket prices? That could definitely help. So, but again, just my opinion. This time of year, obviously it's late April, and I think back to about 10 years ago, exactly 10 years ago, so 2016, around this time, I was actually offered a job here in Vegas. Needless to say, I accepted. However, I was moving across the country. I was living in Pensacola at the time, Pensacola, Florida, so right on the Panhandle. Obviously, it takes a minute to get out here, but obviously I accepted, and the goal was to move here to Vegas by Memorial Day weekend of 2016. So at the time, it was about 5 to 6 weeks. And so I took that time to figure out the logistics of the move. So things I considered was, first of all, was I just going to sell everything except clothes, have them shipped out here and just buy a one-way ticket? Was I going to keep everything? I basically had a one-bedroom apartment, what would amount to that furniture-wise. I just didn't have a couch. And so I weighed all my options and ended up actually going the cheapest route possible, which was renting a moving truck, hauling my car, and just with the help of a coworker's husband, actually, we packed it the night before and packed it really tight, and I mapped out my quest from Pensacola to Vegas. I'm actually going to do a video on that in about a month or so, so stay tuned for that. But here I am 10 years later, so it's pretty cool to look back on that, for sure. Also, not 10 years ago, but 20 years ago is when I graduated college. And that anniversary is coming up in about a month as well. And that's crazy to think about. It's mind-boggling how fast time goes. But speaking of, again, graduating 20 years ago, I was able to hang out with one of my former roommates in college 2 weekends ago, actually. And that's when we rode on the Vegas Loop, the underground tunnels, and so he was willing to do that with me, and we had a great experience. And again, we were able to hang out for the day together, and it was great to catch up. So definitely great to see him. A few things coming up. Obviously, the Kentucky Derby is next week, I believe. Yeah, next week. And so that's a big thing out here betting wise. There's a lot of Derby parties and so forth. So I've actually never been to a Derby party, but maybe it might happen this year, maybe not. But what I have done and have had success with is actually betting the Derby, and I've won pretty big twice. The first time was 2010 when Super Saver won, and then in 2022 when Rich Strike won as one of the biggest upsets ever at 80-1, which is insane. Those odds for anything rarely hit, but it hit that day, and it paid out pretty well. So, but speaking of Kentucky in general, I've mentioned this a few times, but that's where I grew up as a kid. I spent most of my childhood in Kentucky, and I had a great time, a great experience. And one of those experiences was obviously as a child, you watched different shows, kid shows and stuff. So in this video, I'm going to represent one of my childhood experiences by wearing a Nickelodeon t-shirt. Yes, that Nickelodeon. So, one of my favorite networks at the time, and if you are watching this and you got to this point or watching this and you hear about Nickelodeon and you around the same age as I am, I'm 41. At the time, I was watching it late 80s, early 90s, 5 to 8 or 9 years old, and every kid's dream, right? A few of my favorite shows on Nickelodeon at the time: Family Double Dare, Salute Your Shorts, Doug, and Hey Dude. And there are definitely a lot more great shows out there. Those are the ones that kind of come to mind right now. But if you're watching this, what was your favorite Nickelodeon show? But with that said, I'm gonna wrap this video up and just mention that I always appreciate the support that any viewers give me, and obviously the comments as well. So obviously trying to continue this YouTube journey, and right now we're sitting at 80 subscribers, and I'm very happy with that and very appreciative of that. So hopefully to continue to build on that. So again, thanks for watching, and God bless.